Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching The Naturalist Capitalist, and I'm Reed Coverdale, and I've got a very special guest on the show today, Vermin Supreme, the one and only. How's it going, Vermin?
It's going very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on your computer program. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. Let's be serious. Everyone knows who you are. Everyone knows about the ponies and the boot and everything, but I want to get into why you use satire as a way to portray how ridiculous the system is that we're under today. Has that been really successful? Do you think you've really gotten a lot of people to realize the stupidity of the situation we're in? You remind me of the guy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, going after Nurse Ratched. And I wonder if you feel like your portrayal of society through ridiculous metaphors has been successful with people.
I believe that it has on a number of different levels with a number of different people. Certainly, any number of different people ascribe a certain level of import to it. And some people are all like, oh, Vermin, what you do is so important for democracy. And other people are like, that is the stupidest, dumb motherfucker I've ever seen. And of course, they're both right. And everybody's right because they all have their subjective interpretation of what I'm doing. But what has happened, I have just really happened upon what turned out to be a very specific communication strategy. Of course, a lot of it was based on, just the running for president parody, because that in and of itself is just a very small niche. But because of what it is, it's national and international in scope. And one of the nicest things about running for president, it's a self-declarative statement. Anybody can say it, and it becomes essentially an indisputable fact. I'm so-and-so, I'm running for president. Once you say that, it's true. You might not get votes, you might not tell anybody else, you might not register with the FEC, but it becomes a real, literal, indisputable fact if you're just halfway serious about it when you say it. And of course, for the Libertarian Party, it's a similar way because anybody can run and say that they're running for president as a libertarian. So really, it's sort of this beautiful loophole in democracy in a way. And because I started, the whole Vermin Supreme, friendly fascist, time you can trust, let me run your life, the whole, I am a politician, I will lie to you because I have no reason not to, I will promise you anything your little electoral heart desires because you are my constituents, you are the informed voting public, and I have no intention of keeping any promise that I make. Yeah, I mean, I've been milking that for forever, but it just had such an amazing resonance with so many people. I mean, it's a communication strategy, essentially. And I believe, when it broke through, when I went viral in 2012, that was a very wild moment and a very, when I glitter bombed Randall Terry and introduced the whole ideas of the pony-based economy and the mandatory toothbrushing law and the zombie power and essentially, several of my platform planks that literally I'd been, showing, repeating every 4 years for different audiences, because that's another beautiful thing about it is like every 4 years, the audience is replenished. And enough time has passed so that, they sort of, during the 3 years of off time, I sort of dropped off the radar. But then the New Hampshire primary would roll around. I would make appearances up there to interfacing with the legacy party candidates and trolling the media, because New Hampshire being the first in the nation primary it has taken on a very outsized significance, and it has like amazing dense media rich environment where like the media can't stay away from it. And I discovered this formula, if you will, that if you were creative enough, had an interesting enough presentation and something to say, that you could very easily take advantage of that situation. And so I started doing that around 1992. Of course, having been running for a number of cycles before that. And so it just and it's really strange the way things have changed over the years. Early on, for example, if I tried to walk into a restaurant on Elm Street or something, they would throw me out immediately. But now it's like a whole different. I'm a little local celebrity thing, and they're all excited to see me. I in the early days they never would have let me into like a state Republican event, but now I'm like this sort of mascot in a way.
Right.
So that's all very interesting stuff. But I've been able to use that to my advantage again, and because I have am trafficking in absurdity, surreal, sometimes Dada-esque. And because my supporters have a great appreciation for that, and they really like to see it, and they love it when I'm doing crazy shit up in Chris Christie's grill or something like that. And of course I have constituents, and I'm doing this sort of these moments in time for my constituents, because I know they support it, I know they appreciate it. They may not be able to do it or have the inclination to do it or the desire or the personality or anything, but I can do it, and it's very easy for me and very fun for me. And by being able to do it, on behalf of a much greater group of people than myself or the people that are there, I just find it to be a worthwhile thing. I mean, it's a magic boot. I mean, the magic in this boot has allowed me to amplify my free speech, First Amendment voice exponentially. It has allowed me to communicate with millions of people and interact with media across the flat Earth. And so there's, it's just this simple, elegant, and effective. The boot itself. Vermin Supreme. Why do you wear a boot on your head? And I quip. It stands for all that is great in America. The ability to wear a boot on your head if you want to. Sometimes the media will ask me, and they get the response: the boot is a pile of shit, and you are the flies that are buzzing around it. If I enter a room or an event, it immediately becomes an attraction. It immediately becomes a magnet because it's like this signal. It's this thing, and it allows me to interact with. It's a signifier. It signifies to the person, be it an authority figure, a police officer, or just a person on the street, that their encounter might not go normal. That it might be a little out of the unusual, that something might not quite be right. And I think that's exemplified by the fact if you take a photo of me in any place, any time, any crowd, any situation with the boot on my head, and you show that to a kid, and you say, "Hey, kid, what's wrong with this picture?" They will say, "That guy has a boot on his head." And so it's something so simple, and yet it's been so effective. Yeah. And of course, I have found that satire and humor is certainly a great way, and the nonlinear absurdity to once again, to either break down defenses or create some defenses, and then knocking them down by the second part of the presentation after they get over the stunning visual impact, if you will. Right. And then if given the chance, or if need be, or if it becomes appropriate, pivot to a more serious discourse. I've never been shy about breaking the fourth wall, or just explaining the context that I'm operating in, or especially just to break it down. Sometimes you have to, so people can grok it, especially people who are not sure what it is and are curious enough to try and figure it out.
Right.
And you know, that happened with the cops a lot of the times early on. Let me tell you, they just had a real hard time trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But you know, of course, I always try and maintain my centerness and my balance. You know, I'm not like, you know, drop the character and then, you know, become this other mild mannered thing. No, if it comes down to an interaction with an authority figure, you know, you know, I stand my ground, if you will. You know, I maintain my full on integrity as an anti-authoritarian, as an anarchist, as a libertarian.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I wanted to ask you actually, this was the first time you ever ran what you would call a serious campaign, and I was wondering how that came about. Did you just throw your hat in, or throw your boot in the ring and see what was going to happen, and then it just took off, or did you just have a reaction with these people you weren't really expecting, or why was it so successful in the Libertarian Party
well,
when you?
I think it started in this 2016 campaign.
Uh-huh.
That's when some libertarians started reaching out to me. Boomer Shannon from California. We started, you know, just over the internet randomly, just started communicating. Like so many interesting things in my life occur. That's just like random people reaching out, and it fleshes into something real. And he was interested in sort of bringing me out to California for a fundraiser for the Southern California Libertarian Convention or something like that. And he was trying to put together this several $100s a plate fundraising dinner at Chez Vu, or some fancy ass legendary restaurant in LA. And at the time, you know, there was enough media interest that some weird web series paid my way out to LA. And I think it was Lara Southern, or, you know, not the other Southern, not the radical one, but the funny one. And so I was out there anyway, and we did that, and so I got to meet some people, and then after that, Trent Soms of the Libertarian Youth Caucus at the time, he was chairing it. He reached out and invited me to participate in the International Students for Liberty Conference in Washington, D.C., and paid my way down there, and me and my wife. And, you know, I mean, when people call me up to do things, it's like, well, that's a personal appearance. Let's see what'll run you. And I was trying to make it into a date for my wife, of course. And so it's like, well, okay, if you can, all right, you get us the hotel room, you get us the food vouchers, you fly us down. All right, I'm fine. I'll do it, because, you know, celebrities roll like that. You know.
Yeah, right.
And so went down there, and the bit that we came up with was, you know, I was invited to essentially interrupt, you know, with his full knowledge, the president's opening remarks of the event.
Mm-hmm.
And so they allowed me to do that. They gave me no content restrictions, or you know, guidance, other than come in and disrupt and do a few minutes of your stuff, and that'll be great. And so went down there and did just that. The video of it's amazing. It's online. I opened it up with a scorching rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner that I do through the bullhorn with all the feedback, and it's full on Jimi Hendrix. It's like, and it's really a brutal, aggressive treatment of the song that, quite frankly, asks a lot of my audience, especially the intense feedback moments. But, you know, it's a journey that I like to take them through, and you know, it only lasts 3 quick minutes, and it's pretty intense, and it's a deconstruction of the Jimi Hendrix deconstruction of the Star-Spangled Banner. And personally, you'd think it would be extremely controversial in what might be perceived to be a conservative-leaning event, but it wasn't at all. George Will was backstage. I was just got through chewing the fat with George Will when I went out and started screaming the Star-Spangled Banner. And then I gave them a lesson on Ponynomics, because, you know, of course, we all know that, many people ask me, Vermin, are we really going to literally be using ponies as currency? And I say, of course not. That would be crazy until we can make them really, really small. Now, the thing to understand about Ponynomics 101 is essentially that once you are in possession, once you own your pony, once you get and receive your free pony, you literally own a pony. And of course, if you own something, yes, there is equity involved because it has an inherent value and worth. And so once you have this equity in your free pony, and of course, that's a great markup right there. Am I right? You can borrow against it. Okay, so you'll be leveraging your free pony to in a loan situation. And so, yes, we are creating a class of pony debt. Now, debt, as you may very well know, is a very important part of the economy. It plays a very big role. Banks, Wall Street, I mean, they make millions and trillions of dollars off of debt, quite frankly. Nations own portions of each other through debt. And so we're going to create essentially a bubble, a pony debt based bubble. Now we're going to be able to bring in the smartest and the brightest from all the Ivy Leagues, and they're going to be able to create all sorts of incredibly dense, arcane, hard to understand financial instruments, troubled pony asset relief programs, and just like all that whole class of financial pony based instruments, if you will. And this will, in turn, lead to an incredible bubble in an economy. And bubbles are amazing. They're awesome. They're incredible. Because when a bubble is happening, that means the economy is firing on all cylinders. Everybody's got a piece of it. People are working. Wall Street's making money. Everybody's excited. Everybody's making money on the stock market. The problem being, of course, is that some bubbles tend to burst. And, that's unfortunate. But the thing to understand about this pony debt-based bubble in the economy is that it will be reinforced, steel belted, and last forever.
So do we have a Federal Reserve that can print ponies, or what do we do?
The Federal Pony Reserve, yes. And I believe I have seen some scientific illustrations at the beginning of the television series Westworld. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have seen some. Yeah.
They do have a 3D printer that seems to print these humanoid androids and the animals too. So that and I specifically remember that when I was watching that I did marvel at the fact that they were printing horses. So yes, the Federal Pony Reserve would certainly be part of the during the transition times. All things are possible. I mean, they're going to be a little frightening. Yes, and not all of us will make it. It's true. There will be sacrifices, human sacrifices. But ultimately, rest assured that the road to Ponytopia will be paved with the glitter-encrusted skulls of our vanquished foes.
Right. So I'm
sorry, I got a little side to it. So anyway, I got to say a lot of stuff at the International Students for Liberty Conference. Okay. And I got so much freaking love from all those Liberty kids that I said, okay, maybe I'd better check this out a little bit more because, of course, I'm a left anarchist, I come from the left anarchist tradition, cut my teeth on Kropotkin and all that, and always had this like slight distaste or outrage hostility towards libertarians, or at least my stereotype understanding of libertarians, because, of course, libertarians have some very bad press, and a lot of people have a very generalized understanding, and of course, I was not immune to that. But ultimately, all these ongoing encounters with the Free State Project, because that overlapped with my New Hampshire primary activities, and then so the 2016 Orlando National Nominating Convention occurred, and I went down there, and I'd say that was sort of my last, fully pretend. I wasn't really running, but I was saying I was running. I was looking for tokens, and like that. But I hadn't done the research or paid enough attention to how the party worked to, even begin to understand what was happening, or, other than it was a political convention. But essentially, what that meant was I was fully on. I was doing my vermin thing and having fun and making vermin toast. And, at one point during the Weld nomination arguing, I was walking through the hall carrying a chair literally above my head. referencing the Bernie bro throwing chair incident that may or may not have happened a short time earlier. And at one point, it's like I don't know if you saw the Samantha Bee coverage of that event, but I'm glad they were there. Check it out. It's very funny. They opened with Samantha Bee. They start to in the first question in this interview is like, why do you think that the Libertarian Party is not being taken seriously? And then they cut to me, saying, "Oh, I don't know," and then they continue going on. And at one point, during the convention, Gary Johnson was walking across the hall, and I yelled out, "There's Gary Johnson! Get him!" And I ran towards him. And because I had met him during the year that year at various state conventions and what have you, I literally jumped on him with this giant toothbrush and just start flailing around and start doing all this crazy physical comedy around him. And then I create this little space and I say this thing. It's like, Gary Johnson told me that he supports giving zombies the right to vote, which he did during a debate at Ron Paul Fest in 2012 in Tampa, when I had the opportunity to have this little impromptu debate with him. And so essentially he could not deny that he said that. And so I follow up with, I say, that's just crazy. And so some of that ended up on the Samantha Bee. And so I was doing all this stuff that I do that people like me to do. And I did not get thrown out. Security was not called on me. They hung with it. They enjoyed it. And I came to ultimately realize that half the people there really, really, really loved the fact that I was there. The other half did not like it very much at all. But the half that liked it liked that the other half didn't like it at all. So there's that part of it too.
Yeah. So you really hit it off with a lot of these people. I remember when I first found out you were running, I'll admit I wasn't too crazy about the idea, but I'd never actually listened to what you were saying.
Understood.
And I just knew you at a surface level. And then I started watching your videos. I started watching you in the debates. And I started realizing what you were doing. And it's one of those things that people have to pay attention to the depth of what you're saying through a joke and realize that you're trying to explain how stupid something that already exists is. And I just don't know if Americans are smart enough to do that in general, because they're all about little 5-second clips, but I think for those of us who really delved in and listened to what you were saying, we really appreciated it a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I like to think that most people get it. Most people grok it. Like I say, it operates on several levels. The literalists will never get it, even though I always think it's funnier when people take it so at face value, as if it's a real thing. So I'm a stark raving madman presenting like I really want a pony. But I personally believe that most people understand that it's satire, that it is a joke. And of course why did I run a serious campaign this past year? Because I was recruited. I believe I was groomed by the Libertarian Party, and then I was recruited by my campaign manager, Desiree Lindsay from Texas, who reached out to me and obviously had a vision for how my campaign might help propel the Libertarian Party forward or shake things up, or a combination of the three. And asked me if I was interested in running a serious campaign. And of course, that was something so alien to me that I realized it was a completely different animal, would require a whole different level of commitment, because up to that point, my imaginary campaign of 30 years essentially was like a week or two in the New Hampshire primaries, a week or two at the conventions, and maybe a week at the inauguration. So really, it was a month of my time every 4 years. But it gave me this level of notoriety this manipulation of the media and striking these resonant chords that reach so many people in so many different subcultures in America. And it gave me this level of notoriety that I could make what I believe was a legitimate offer of my services as a candidate under the LP banner. And of course, I was not trolling the party. I was offering the opportunity to allow me to troll America and the duopoly on their behalf.
Yes.
Because because of who I am and the people who love what I do, I have a certain allowance to. I mean, it's not a license to kill, but it's a license to thrill, and it gives me a lot of leeway in how I react in any given situation. And that involves, even getting terribly rude and over the top if that moment requires me in my worst judgment. And it's, but once again, the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, over 1/5 of the delegates, 200 plus delegates thought that yes, Vermin Supreme at the top of the ticket was a potentially desirable thing. I mean, the year of my campaigning, essentially, we developed a hell of a campaign team, comprised of, eventually upwards of 100 volunteers, of libertarians, principled libertarians from the right and the left.
Right.
And all working together under this vision. It was the people who were supporting me were generally under the agreement and understanding that out of the crop of candidates, I was the most likely to pull in 5% by creating this viral media shitstorm. They were the most convinced that I would have the ability to grow the party, to draw in lots and lots of young people, to draw in lots and lots of eyeballs, to create a moment, perhaps a movement. And personally, I'm a little sad because this was such a moment in time, and we had incredible momentum leading up to that convention. When the videos, when our video commercials started coming out, that Goulash Films and Daniel Smolt put together, those were going viral. I mean, 250,000 views inside of a week, leading up to that convention. There was electricity. I mean, and a lot of it, if not the majority of it, was indeed from outside the party. It was the population at large. I mean, they were, very excited about that possibility, even if, they weren't thrilled at the libertarian agenda, even. But,
yeah, ask about that. What you were saying earlier about being a left anarchist and having these ideas about the party, I think some of them might have been falsely represented, but there are some hardcore idealists in the party who aren't willing to budge on anything. And I feel like they really keep a lot of people who believe in liberty and anti-authoritarianism from coming in. And I think you really opened the door to a lot of these people. So did you run into that a lot? Was there a lot of pushback, not just from the joke, but from being someone who is not a strict idealist libertarian? Was that kind of a hurdle you had to jump, or how did that go?
One of the things that ultimately, my left anarchist tendencies, dovetail pretty decently with the platform. I mean, as an anarchist, the Libertarian Party is comprised of anarchists and minarchists, ultimately and desirably, I think, working together to dismantle the state. And so there's nothing really inconsistent in the platform per se. I mean, it's a statist document, granted. I mean, it accepts the reality of a state. They're talking about their relation, our relation in the government and stuff. But ultimately, I believe my wing of the party or chunk of it that overlaps right and left, utopian in nature. I mean, we are looking towards a post-state society. And what will that post-state society look like, and how do we get there? And what is in the platform and in the general libertarian ideals are not inconsistent. Even some of during the debates, for example, and I think, you have some libertarians who make the pronouncement that, throwing the red meat to the delegates or the party faithful or the libertarians, but day number one, we're going to end Medicare. Day number one, Social Security gone. And even during some of the memes early on in the campaign, keep the FDA. Trump, yes. Biden, yes. Jorgensen, no. And it's like, to normal people, without the context, without the exposition, without an explanation, without concrete examples or a roadmap how to get from here to there, it is going to be extremely problematic in making people think that we are reasonable.
Right.
I believe we are reasonable people, and reasonable people want to see how we're getting there. I mean, we like the vision. And yes, these things ultimately in a government, stateless society would not exist, and they should go. And yes, but.
Yeah, especially if it's a tweet with like 2 sentences on day one, I will eliminate the Department of Education. Everyone sees that and they think she doesn't want us to educate our kids. That's what they hear.
Yes, it's perceived as extremely radical, right? And it is too. But it's not, once again, not inconsistent with my anarchist principles, but I have a lot more nuance and a lot more subtlety, and certainly more interested in presenting alternatives, possibilities that'll get us there, and alternative policy. I mean, we had a good policy team that was starting to come up with some really good stuff on the joke.net. We had like legit examples of ideas of how we could wean ourselves off of universal healthcare and create our own non-government universal healthcare by making it more affordable and all that shit. So there's definitely a lot of ways to get to where we want to go. But what are the priorities? What are the needs of the people? Yes, of course, government is evil and shouldn't exist, and everything they do is wrong and mismanaged and inefficient and has unintended consequences. But then you find yourself in some crazy world situation like we're in, and just massive unemployment, and just systems breaking down, fucking government takeover, and feds and fucking kidnapping people on the streets, and shit's going down, and it's pretty intense, and so we really have to tailor our message to what's going on, man.
Yes, no, I agree. So something
when a pro Black Lives Matter tweet turns into a shitstorm, and like, okay, boy, that's a really powerful statement, but everybody who thinks that's a terrible thing. I mean, the terrible libertarian Twitter was all over that shit, Oh, yeah. Oh my goodness. However,
I want people who believe in individual freedom and are against authoritarianism to unite. And I think all these stupid little minutia, ridiculous terms that we get upset about and don't talk to each other over, it's keeping the duopoly in power, because they can keep us separate, because even though we might agree on most things and we don't agree on anything with them, they are able to convince us that we are each other's enemy and that they're the ones protecting us from each other. You know what I mean?
But the Venn diagram that overlaps that we agree with is pretty great. That's why I spent such a large part of my time, because I was attracting so much attention from the Bernie Bros and the Yangs and the Tulsi kids and all that. And check out the lp.org/platform. Check out our platform. See what it says. See what it says to you. I mean, when I asked Tulsi Gabbard at that one event, I asked her if she had read the Libertarian Party platform, and she said no. But then she went into a pretty quick, impassioned rant on issues of anti-war and pro-civil liberties. So I think people have some understanding of some of the things that we stand for, and it's just a matter of explaining the rest of it in a way that is comprehensible or acceptable or grokkable or what have you.
Right. Yeah,
so
you just brought up Tulsi Gabbard, and I actually I was a supporter of hers during the Democratic primary. That's where I met you the first time, at her victory party in Manchester. And I would like someone like Tulsi Gabbard to go to the Libertarian Party and leave the joke that is the Democratic Party, that has done nothing but destroy her and defame her and make her illegitimate. But, you know, as long as we're such hard-lined idealists and we're not willing to work with people who might disagree with us slightly, that's never going to happen. So
right. I mean, I think that the main thing, I mean, because she did seem to have a fair amount of libertarian admiration, you know, generally, and she got over the gun issues, I guess, the Second Amendment considerations, which seemed to me to be most of the negative chatter about her candidacy.
Yeah, definitely. I was working on her campaign, and I was telling her that was what was keeping most of her support away, and it was a big issue. But yeah. So what's your plan going forward? Are you going to run a serious campaign again ever, or do you think you're going to go back to the same old, or are you done with the presidency, or
no, it's so simple, it's so easy, people love it so much, it's so much fun. You know, we create such a chaotic goodness when we're going full tilt, and you know, I mean, this last time up in the New Hampshire primary, we had a couple live ponies with us. We had Rob Patillo out there with his guitar, dressed as a lemur, and you know, it's just a full-on three-ring circus. I mean, every year gets bigger and crazier. This year it was wild, the contrast, because, you know, for the better part of the year, I was like, you know, debating, attending state conventions. You know, I raised more money this last election year than I spent in all my other previous years combined. So it was a fully real thing, and you know, it's essentially, you know, a different communication style. You know, you're debating. It's like, okay, I'm a presidential candidate. I'm going to tell you how I think this question should be answered, and in the most libertarian fashion as I possibly can, along with 7 other candidates who have essentially answered the same question in the most libertarian way that they freaking could. And so I was actually used that to my advantage, because I was able to you know, used my humor. I mean, it was a sort of an interesting year of trying to find the right mix of humor and funny and serious and policy and platform pivots. And so that was pretty cool, you know, because I was still able to quip and say, you know, funny, stupid things topically about the various issues, and then immediately pivot back towards the platform. So I think that was pretty successful, and I think people did see that. And of course, you know, the more people saw me live and in person, the more I spoke to people, the more they understood it, the more they got it, the more they grokked it. And so there was a lot of converts, you know, a lot of people were flipping, a lot of people who were concerned, you know, like you say, you know, longtime fans, longtime party members. But then when I, you know, started doing my thing within the party, they were concerned, and I would not, you know, no blame there. I mean, that's a real concern. You know, my other campaigns, I ran as a Democrat, not a Democrat, ran as a Republican, not a Republican, but this time I was a Libertarian, running as a Libertarian, you know, a rainbow anarchist Libertarian, and yeah, totally. And I believe that, you know, I did reach a lot of people. A lot of people took another look at the Libertarian Party. You know, oh, Vermin Supreme's involved in the you know, I'd better take another look at this. You know, maybe it's not what I think it is, which I think is another hashtag, really. It's not what you think it is. It's really, you know, it's not a right-leaning monolith. No, there is an internal left-right struggle, spectrum. You know, just these things. You know, there is compassion. You know, as left anarchist for years. You know, I mean, I'm a mutual aid anarchist. I believe that by helping each other and helping ourselves, we're helping ourselves by helping each other, and it just turns into this beautiful feedback loop that gets shit done. And but I held it as a secret close to my chest with my libertarian brethren, because I was the charity thing, the reliance on the charity stuck in my craw, the top down dismissiveness of charity in my perception. Okay. And so I was afraid that if I brought up mutual aid to libertarians, that it would be co-opted, that it would be watered down, that they would use the phrase, but for things it wasn't. And this before my time was up, I found myself making it a cornerstone of my campaign. Flogging it home, just talking about mutual aid and compassion and love and anarchy and voluntarism and compassion and empathy and all of these things that I have found to be true of many libertarians possessing all of these positive qualities, but not in the public's perceived or perception of it.
Yeah. So the other week, Ted Cruz and Sean Hannity called themselves libertarians, which made me laugh. So I do want to be welcoming to people into this movement, but there are certain things that I think disqualify you from being a libertarian. I think you have to be a libertarian first, and then your left and right have to come afterward. You've got to believe in the individual, and you have to believe in freedom and anti-authoritarianism. If you want authority to be able to tell other people how to live because of your right or left leaning, that kind of, in my mind, makes you not a libertarian anymore. Would you agree with that? Or
yes, no, you're anti-authoritarian or you're not.
Yeah, exactly.
Either you're part of the bottom left of the Nolan chart or you're not. And that's why the concept of the bottom unity, the left and the right trying to work together against our common enemy, the state, it's a very attractive concept to me. And I think my entry into the campaign, into this election year as a serious player in the party politics, I think, helped it. I mean, the Libertarian Socialist Caucus, it's not that old. It's sort of a new thing, but it's drawing people who would not have been involved in the party ever before. But they're anti-authoritarians, they're anti-states, and yet when they first came in, they were being derided. Libertarian socialists, that's like banana octopus, and one of the gentlemen who came up with that phrase to scoff at the Libertarian Socialists, became an important part of our campaign, and working side by side with members of all caucuses. I think that we're all, so I'm definitely a uniter, definitely not. I think, I'm on the judicial committee now. In fact, I gotta get here. I gotta get some emails. I gotta get tend to. But so hey, I'm in this party for a little bit now. I'm vested. I've got interest. Will I run for the nomination in 24? I can only tease at this point. I can only tease. I mean, it was a fair amount of work. It was quite a commitment. There were several months there where every weekend I was on the road. And so there is that.
Yeah. So
my wife was very, very understanding, and she allowed me to follow this portion of my bliss. And she's not into the libertarian politics, and it would have to be a very special event where I'd have to make it very, very date-like that she would consider going.
So I've seen a little bit about the Vermin Institute. What's that all about? What's the Vermin Institute?
Well, I'm glad that you asked, my friend. The Vermin Supreme Institute. Yep. Well, what we did is we slapped the word institute onto my name. And that makes it sound super freaking legitimate. Absolutely. Am I right, people? And so, yes, it's essentially an outgrowth, an offshoot, a spin-off of my campaign, Team Supreme. A lot of the people who have been involved in the running of my campaign for the past year have become so comfortable and with working on this project, bringing love, humor, and compassion to direct action. And we're trying to figure out exactly how we could continue this project, because I guess ultimately my project has been ongoing for some 30 years. And of course, this is just a different phase. I brought it to a certain level that I could by myself. And this year saw this amazing collaborative aspect of it, where a lot of people came in and took a different part of it, and believe that it is a worthwhile messaging communication strategy, and that I as a figurehead or puppet, if you will, gives us a great head start. I mean, we have this built-in audience, we have this built-in branding, just this whole Vermin Supreme thing. And so trying to sort of encapsulate, parts of what I've been doing. And we're starting easy, starting slow, starting with things that we know we can accomplish. We want to bring forth redacted history, so that's an easy enough thing to dig up those resources and make them put them out there. We're folding in a portion of the what's the name of that? Disrupt the Vote, which was our down ballot anti-duopoly candidate resource that we were developing. So we'll be fleshing that out, because we are a 501c4, which means that we can spend up to 30% of our 50% of our resources on political things. And we're going to be doing all sorts of stuff. We are going to be instituting. Okay, it's an institute. We're going to be instituting. We are going to be umbrella-ing different proposals, different crowdsourced projects that people want to put together. One of our guys, Chris Rogers, is doing activist recognition, recognizing people doing awesome things. And Hody has come up with this idea that Hody Johns, the Vermi Awards, towards the end of the year, where we'll give out awards to people that we think have been making a difference and things like that. And we'll be putting out, consolidating resources. I'm going to be putting out my presentation, the history of satire and humor in politics. I'm going to make that part of it. We're going to be including a lot of keeping safe at demonstrations, and steering people towards various crowd control manuals and collections of that sort. People are writing articles and think pieces. So it's going to be a website. I guess ultimately educational in nature. It's still mildly amorphous. It will become more defined as we define ourselves. I don't have the mission statement, but it's very short. We hope to empower the disenfranchised. I said I coined that phrase the other day, trying to say disenfranchised. But yeah, so the disillusioned and like that, and humor, direct action, mutual aid, compassion, and those are like the key words that we hope this institute will happen. We're very modest. I mean, yes, they just said that I have a great endowment, but not like the kind that runs a foundation, I'm afraid. So we'll continue doing the fundraising the way we got the campaign going, which was through merch mainly. It was quite and small donations, because enough people out there cared enough to kick me down some money if they could afford it, and that's a pretty humbling and amazing thing. And I'm a jobs creator. We took that money and gave it to a couple people. That's fair. Sure. Not me, though, of course, not me.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on, Vermin, and we'll be looking forward to your institute. And I'll just give you the last word. Anything you want to say before we close out?
Together, we will ride our ponies into a zombie-powered future. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for your appreciation. I appreciate your appreciation, and I accept your well wishes and admiration and all that crap. And I try and do what I can do, and that's all. And try to not let my head get too big for my boot or whatever. But wish me luck. And if like I say, if you have an inkling, have a skill that you want to share with the project, because we're hoping to produce a bunch of videos and written pieces and all these things. We're just trying to find different ways to parlay various information. Logical fallacies is something that I want to attack, and we have a couple different sketch groups that I'm encouraging to take a fallacy and illustrate it in a 2 or 3 minute skit. So things of that nature, educational, informative, and entertaining. And that's all.
All right.
No, VerminSupreme2020.com. It's still an active live thing because it's still the right year and that's still my right name. The Vermin Supreme Institute.com. That's coming up. At Vermin Supreme on Twitter. At the real Vermin Supreme on TikTok. Watch it while it's still up there. Vermin Supreme for President. Blue check mark on Facebook and Instagram too, I think. And of course, don't forget iPony, Blueprint for a New America. It is a book about the future of America long after a Vermin Supreme presidency, after everybody has their pony, after zombie power fuels the nation, and the secret dental police have set up checkpoints every couple 100 yards or so. It is a warning from the people of the future to you, the people of your present, their past, that Vermin Supreme is a madman and must be stopped. Thank you. That's available at iPonybook.com.